Hello everybody, welcome to a very special video because I'm going to talk about a very special show that I grew up as a kid. Wienerville was the take on the old kids show like Pee-wee's Playhouse. It had originality, its own energy, and it was just weird and entertaining. I loved it. It was great, and it was a very simple setup. And we're going to go further in on that just hearing me talk and putting clips up. But I can do one better. All right, guys, we got in our lovely studio here the man who created one of my favorite shows for Nickelodeon, the one, the only Marc Weiner. Marc, thank you so very much for taking the time to talk to me about the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for still being interested in Weinerville.
Yes, yes. You know, Wienerville was a huge interest to me as a kid because I grew up with Pee-wee's Playhouse. And Pee-wee was a great one. Then when it went off the air, like, I had nothing. And then Wienerville showed up, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this is great. This fills that void. I was waiting for that.
You want a little trivia bit. So our great prop master and puppet master, Wavy Davy, Dave Jordan, worked on Pee-wee's first.
I was going to say, Wavy Davy, I know that name.
You should interview him. He built Boney. He built most of the puppets on Wienerville, and he's just an amazing puppeteer and a great guy.
Yeah, no, Wavy Davy, man. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that name. Before we start talking about the show, let's talk about you a little bit. When you started out, you were a street performer.
Before that, I worked on an environmental boat called the Clearwater Sloop. It was a boat that was started by Pete Seeger, and it sails on the Hudson River, and it takes people out on the river so that they can see how beautiful the river is, and they'd become interested in trying to save it. So I crewed on there for 3 years, and I would start entertaining the kids that we would bring out onto the boat. After one winter after the season, I took a clown course up in Maine, and then I became a street performer. And then I moved to New York and became a stand-up, and then started doing TV.
Nice, nice. And a little thing to mention, I heard something about you used to perform with Robin Williams?
Yeah. This was I'm performing in front of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I used to juggle a toilet plunger, a rubber hand, and an M&M. And I figured that if somehow Robin Williams would hear, you know, he used to do this thing, nanu nanu, with his hand. I don't even remember. Do you remember what that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember Mork from Mork and Mindy and Nanu Nanu, but I don't remember
So he used to do something with his hand, and I figured if I would do that with my rubber hand, someday I would meet him. The second time I ever did this on the street, Robin Williams comes out of the audience, and he comes down, and we start performing together, and it was amazing. And then the next week he came back, and we performed again together, and yeah, it was great.
Oh, nice, nice. So now, when you started doing stand-up, how soon was it when you started incorporating puppets into the act?
Well, I started doing puppets. I was on the street doing puppets. So then I came into the nightclub as a juggler. And so I did my juggling act. And then I'd say about a year into it, I started, I brought my puppets in right away. And then I started coming up with the head puppet, the ones Dottie and all the ones on Weinerville. I wanted to be able to change puppets on stage really fast so I could do a few of them in the stand-up club. at the improvisation, and I figured if I put to take the puppet off your hand, the audience is waiting and they're sitting there as you do that. So I made a box that there was a puppet body in it, and all I would have to do is walk around and put my head in the puppet body, and now I was the puppet. There was no waiting. That's how I came up with the head puppets.
And then when you started doing stand-up, I know you did a few stints on TV. I think SNL was one.
Yeah.
This is when I discovered you. Was actually the Jim Henson Hour.
Really?
You were in a spot where they did it in the middle of the Muppet television part.
Yeah.
It was interrupted by, I believe it was called Gorilla Television, and you were the act, and you were with, I believe it was Rocco at the time. Yep, and you performed Rocco, and that was the first time I was ever exposed to your comedy. And I remember seeing you, and I was like, who is this guy? He's really good. I mean, I was, 5 or 6, but I was like, oh wow, I like, this guy's awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
So, and speaking of that, how did Jim come to get to meet you and invite you onto the show?
Well, one of his writers was familiar with my work, and he kind of orchestrated, getting, Jim to see my work and getting me to go up to Toronto to do the show. Went up there and we did the show, and it was, it was tough hanging out with the big boys there, and the big girls.
What was the atmosphere like working with those guys? That was it pretty contagious or?
Intimidating because I don't think that I was on SNL yet, or maybe. No, I probably was on SNL. No, do you remember I don't remember the year that I was.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember myself.
I'll check my website. So there's it was intimidating because now all of a sudden you're doing a routine with the Muppets, and they're all, like these are professional puppeteers, and and I'm just like a street performer, or if I had been on SNL, I don't think I was on SNL yet. No, I wasn't on SNL because I had gotten when in the 80s and 80 around, I had a son who was very sick, and he didn't make it past 5, and I kind of like got out of show business because when something tragic like that happens, it kind of shakes your world, and it was difficult to be funny. And I was working for my brothers in the plumbing supply business, and I remember getting the call from Jim Henson's show that they wanted me to come and perform for them. So this was before SNL. And I told my brothers that, listen, guys, can I have a week off so I can do this Henson thing? And they said, not only can you have the week off, you can have the rest of your life off or work here. Go do your puppets and get out of our business. So that show was actually my entry back into show business after leaving it.
All right, well then let's go into Wienerville. How did the idea come up? How did the idea going, hey, you know what? We could probably take the stand-up and make it a show.
So I was creating a lot of these head puppets, a lot of these characters. And I got on a show called Random Acts of Variety, which was on I think it was the Hot Channel back then, which became Comedy Central. And each week I became a regular on the show, and I just kept coming up with new routines. And the producer said, you should create a village where your puppets live. And I went, And I said, I would call it Wienerville. And so that was really the beginning of thinking that I could create this whole world, this village. And from that show, I created this game show called That's Not Fair. It was in Wienerville, a couple of episodes. And we made a pilot for Comedy Central. The pilot, when they tested it, was too young for Comedy Central's demographics. But they said, why? My manager happened to be related to the development person over at Nickelodeon. We brought the show to Nickelodeon. They said, we're looking for a show like this. And we said, let's do it.
So then once everything got greenlit and you found out you're going to have, all these builders, all these tech people, everything, how overwhelming was that for you to go from, stand up to like, holy crap?
From my garage to a major studio. So you got to understand, at this time, I'm building all these puppets in my garage. And I made so many puppet sets that I had to take. There was no more room in the garage, so I moved them into the spare bedroom. So I was filling my house with these puppets. And then I created, I got a studio, it was in Mount Kisco. And on my way to Mount Kisco, on my way from my house to my studio, I was passing a Boston Market. I think that's the name of that restaurant. They were just building it, and there were a bunch of cardboard boxes outside. And I went, I could build something with those cardboard boxes. I took those boxes, and I created what I thought Wienerville, which was, Puppet City, where Dottie lives. And I created the prototype with these boxes in my studio. And then when Nickelodeon, when I got the go-ahead to do a show, they said, send us what you built. So I sent them this Puppet City, which was, this big cardboard city. And they shipped it down. We shipped it down to Florida. And 2 months later, I get down to Florida, and there's what as Wienerville's Puppet City. That came from my cardboard box Puppet City.
Oh, wow. Nice. It is amazing what you can do with non-traditional mediums for art.
Cardboard, hot glue.
And then, working with the executives, were they pretty cool with things? Was it like, oh, we write a script, throw it to them? Were they pretty cool with most things?
I was really blessed to have a great executive producer, Kevin Kay, and executives at Nickelodeon, Herb Scanley, and the head of the network, and all the people that were working there. They loved the show, so they treated me nicely. And it was great.
So now getting back to talking about sets, I've always wanted to know this. Exactly how was the Wienerizer built? Or is that a trademark secret that cannot be divulged?
No, I'll tell you. It's what you see. So I had the idea to build a Wiener, some kind of way to shrink people down. And it was really going to be a room, one of those rooms where you change your perspective, and the people with shrinking that would go smaller and go through a door. Well, I had this amazing set designer, Byron Taylor, and his wife Eve, and they came up with the Wienerizer. Again, that's the one I set my sets to. He built the whole Puppet City, and he created this machine that it sat on a forklift in the back. And then the people would go into the Wienerizer, and then it's now time to Wienerize you. And then the forklift would go down, and that's what you would see
okay. See, that was the part that I always wanted to know is how did you get to do that? Was it trapdoors? But, oh, wow.
No, it's a forklift behind there. And I still have Bernie. You know, the guy who the. Let's see if you know who Bernie is.
Oh, I'm trying to remember Bernie.
Come on, Bernie, bring out the Wienerizer.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
The little guy on the tractor.
Yes, the little guy on the tractor, and he would bring out the Wienerizer.
Right.
I totally forgot that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Now, for your characters, especially for Wienerville, did you base them off of anybody, or were these just like personalities that you're just like kind of like I need this specific character, so...
Dottie started off as Joey Deluxe's secretary. You know, Joey Deluxe was fantastic. I'm Joey Deluxe. I'm the old show business agent. Fantastic. And he had a secretary, and this is what I would work in the nightclub. I would go from Joey Deluxe to his secretary, and that was Dottie. And then Dottie became, you know, Dottie's career took off, and Joey was stuck in his old office, you know. So Joey Deluxe was really doing a spoof on all of the agents. Dottie, I don't know. Dottie was just a character. I didn't base her on anyone. Oh, Mark, what do you mean you didn't base me on anyone? Sorry. A good thing you don't put that wig on now. You would look horrible as an old woman. Okay. Yes, Dottie. Okay, I'm sorry. And then Zip. No, Commander Ozone, Cocktail Frank, Pops Louie, Boney, Sacco, Rock. No, they're just many of voices that live inside my head. And I can't stop them.
Wienerville also did 3 specials. There was the Hanukkah special, there was the New Year's Eve special, and then there was the election special. I really want to talk about the Hanukkah special because that is my personal favorite of all time.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yes. No, I love that episode. It's just because I know in the 90s they were starting to work on... I know Nickelodeon was getting big on trying to do Hanukkah specials. And then I saw you were doing it. I was like, okay, Wienerville. Man, it was the best. So when you came up with the Hanukkah special, how did you come up with the idea of it being kind of a non-traditional kind of story, but still told the story of Hanukkah?
Well, you know that Nickelodeon does things non-traditionally. Okay. So they called me, the head of the network called me in and said, we want to do a Hanukkah special. And there's a book here that we'd like you to read and then do a Hanukkah special from this book. And I read the book and it was like, I don't get it. I don't get the book. I don't understand where you're going with this. I said, let me come up with our own Hanukkah special. And I had a great writer, Scott Fellows. There's a name that you should know. Scott Fellows.
It's trying to think.
I'll tell you. Scott Fellows went on to do create Ned's Declassified. Scott went on and the boy band show on Nickelodeon.
Oh, yeah. It was the Naked Boys Band or whatever it was called. Yeah, I remember that one.
He went on from Wienerville. He started on my show as a prop, a puppet handler. He just would hand me props from in the back there. So Scott Fellows and I wrote the Hanukkah special. Welcome to Weinerville! Daddy, what did you do?
Oh my gosh. All right. You got to work with Mark Summers on the special. What's he like? Oh, nice. Ah, the old set.
That set's down in my basement.
Oh, get out. Nice.
Oh, here is, speaking of the street performer.
Oh, that is awesome.
So that,
Oh
there I
wow,
am with
that's Robin Williams. Oh my gosh, so cool.
I actually have this part of the Wienerville City Hall piece in my dining room.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh.
My house is a Wienerville museum.
That would be so cool to see all that stuff. Ah, yes, there we go. But before we get on, I have to say, one of these days I am ordering one of those off the store.
All right, I'll give you a good deal.
All right. So you got to work with Marc Summers on the special. What's he like?
Marc Summers is such a nice person. I got to meet him from when we were down in Orlando. He was in the studio next to us taping. What would you do? I think. And so, I said, "Would you be in our Hanukkah special?" And he said, "Sure."
Marc opens up the beginning of the show, and then we go right into the Boney's big stunt at the beginning with the telephone booth. How the heck did you guys pull that off? Was that one a track? Was that...
Okay, so we get to go ahead to shoot the show, and it's got it like in November, and it's got to get done in like 3 weeks. So we go up to Vermont, and there's no snow. We brought up with us bags of fake snow, and that snow that it's like white rolls of fake snow. If you if you watch the Wienerville Hanukkah special, when the evil guy comes into the lounge, into the ski lounge, and Sacco is there, and he's there, and he's threatening everybody. You see the snow on the floor, but it moves, on like as a carpet would move. So when you watch it, just look around and you see that it's all fake snow. So now that big phone booth is on, I think it was on a track going down a hill, and I'm inside it, with doing Boney, or maybe Scott Fellows was inside. Boney's up on top, and they're rushing him down a hill, and we're filming him that way. But then when it spins off the cliff, that's a fake small phone booth.
Okay, I just was curious on like the close-ups, because I actually watched close-ups a couple times. Just kind of looking at them like it might be a track, but I was like, I wasn't sure. Even like the side ones, I wasn't sure if that was a track too or not.
I think it was just on a wagon. I don't think we had a budget for a track.
All right. And where you guys filmed a lot of the ski stuff, that was Killington Resort? Was in Killington, Vermont, right?
Yes. I'll take your word for it.
What was it like working trying to get everybody into the lodge? Like was that a pretty cramped live set, or is it a lot bigger on the inside?
It was a ski lodge, and they let us shoot there for 2 days. So
all right, I just was curious because like watching the special, it always looked like it was so small, so I wasn't sure.
It was the puppet ski lodge. Got his little desk there, but behind her was a big ski lodge.
What was the one character you created? It was the Mrs. Can't remember.
Yeah. You've got snow on my floor.
Yes, that is my most favorite character in that whole series, and I think that's the only time she shows up. Right?
That's true. She was made by a master puppeteer, but he created that puppet, and there were Muppeteers. We started bringing it in the specials, Muppeteers on to help us. What was her name? But just like it was just funny, like her thing was, "You got snow on my floor," and she hated when and then Boney goes, "Well, move to Florida. Why don't you move to Florida?" And then she smacks him with a vacuum cleaner. And he goes, I'm in love.
So then after Wienerville was done,
You know, there was more. Then there was a couple of celebrities in that show.
there was a couple faces I saw, but I couldn't link the faces up to the names. I kept saying, I know this person, but I couldn't think.
David Johansen played the big, the wise man. You know, David Johansen is a very famous musician and singer. He played the guy in the beard. And then there was a couple of people from Saturday Night Live, Denny Dillon, but years ago.
Because I know after Wienerville there was Wordville. Was that during Wienerville's run, or was that after?
After it was like, yeah, Nick, the people at Nick Jr. Wanted me to try and come up with a show, and we had this thing, and I think it was like interstitials, like 2-3 minute long episodes, and we did about 3 or 4 of them, and then the budget disappeared. But it's funny that Dr. Green was one of the characters in there, and I'm going to see a doctor tomorrow. And I had a choice of 4 doctors, and the one doctor, there's one guy named Dr. Green, and I said, wow, I remember in Wordville there was a Dr. Green. I'm going to choose Dr. Green. So there's a little funny you should mention that.
Nice. And then after that, you got onto Dora the Explorer.
Yeah.
You did you did some good voices on that one.
I'm the map. If there's a place you want to go, I'm the one you need to know. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map.
When Dora came up, were you still working with Nickelodeon at the time then, or?
Yeah. Okay. Let's back to doing Wienerville and Orlando, and the next, there were like 4 sound stages. We're in one. Clarissa is in another one. Double Dare, or Mark Summers is in another one, and the producer at Clarissa is a guy named Chris Gifford. Chris Gifford goes to work for Nick Jr. He hires me to do Wordville. Then he goes on to create Dora. He takes me with him. Me, thank Chris. Chris, good man. Chris, when we were doing the before the Hanukkah special, the year before the Hanukkah special, I got the Nickelodeon to do a Hanukkah, just a little, to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah. What do they call it? PSAs?
Oh yeah, it was like a PSA or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little something. So Nickelodeon said, okay, you can do a little thing to wish everyone happy Hanukkah. And so I said to Chris, I'm an Orthodox Jew and I wear a yarmulke. And so I say to Chris, should I wear my yarmulke? And Chris goes, I don't know. So Chris is connected with the Hanukkah thing, and then he hires me to Chris. Good. Yay, Chris. Yay, Chris. Yay, Chris. Oh, Chris, we love you.
The one last thing I want to mention after Wienerville was you did Wienerville Live.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that out until it was way done. And
where are you located?
Pennsylvania.
Which city?
Pittsburgh.
What's your address? No, just kidding. People are going, get them! Pittsburgh was a great town to me. I did my stand-up there, at the comedy clubs. There was one downtown, and then there was another one kind of like in the suburbs of Pittsburgh. This is in the 80s. Hey, you weren't even born yet. Okay.
Yeah, no, that would have been 84 when I was
Is that when
born.
you were
So,
born?
yep.
All right, yeah. So,
But so how did you get to do in Wienerville live?
no, we just created our own portable versions of it.
Oh,
We,
okay.
we just big backdrops, and we built a Wienerizer, a portable Wienerizer that folded up into a little suitcase, and we would carry it with us. No, we would truck around big cases, and my father would go along with us, and we had stagehands, and my father would call the show. That's my dear father, who passed away many years. My father with Eric. You see, there's a picture with you and him. And then,
Well, I'm very glad I can be part of your family memories.
okay, so here, let me try and get. See, my father is in. You see, there's my father. He would sit in the back and call the show. This was one of our shows in which it wasn't well attended. No. And my mother, my dear mother, she was in charge of merchandise. So she's in the back counting the money. Did you see this thing that's...
No, I did not. No.
Some woman is making these, and it's a dotty pen.
Oh, wow.
It's called Foxy Hipster. Super red enamel pens.
Well, I think that's all I had of those questions, but we'll ask one. What is your favorite episode of Wienerville? Or what was the most memorable one with
I gotta say that my head writer, Ray Abruzzo, brilliant actor, brilliant comedian. He was there with us. He played Louis's voice. The cleaner, So there was the Puppets Court was very funny. Do you remember that, where Pops and Louie go to court?
Oh, very vaguely. I can't remember what they went to court for.
You burned my lunch. Well, you burned my sushi. They just fight all the time.
One more thing, since you shared some things with me, I want to share a story with you. In the background, you probably couldn't see it, but this is my favorite thing on my wall.
Oh,
this is signed by Adam West himself.
Wow.
And I actually got to see him at a convention. I was very glad to see him. It was a funny story. I was going through a rough patch. I used to live in Kansas. Oh, Kansas City. I was born in Pennsylvania, but I moved over there for a while. My dad said, son, come home. So I came home, and I was kind of in a rough spot. Saw Adam West was coming. My dad said, you know what? We're going to go see Adam West. He's one of those guys, you grew up with him, and it's just... But yeah, that's my big picture right there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Marc, so very much for taking the time to talk Wienerville. I learned a lot more stuff than I had ever imagined. So thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for your interest, and for your viewers. Thank you for remembering Wienerville, and check out our YouTube stuff. And
yeah, I forgot about the YouTube channel. When will Boney be coming off of his hiatus?
Well, funny you should mention that. I'll give you I'll give you a little. He's got something coming out.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
All right. I was just going to say that's something that that's going to be coming out. It's just he's got a new little quick little routine. We were cranking the Boney, don't ask Boney episodes out, and then Trump got elected, and just kind of like knocked the wind out of our sails here. He went, he said that he would just go back hiding in his cave, and he is, he's just in his cave, and I keep every morning, Boney, you want to come out? Get out of here! Leave me alone! And then he always goes, I'm Boney. I go, Boney, you don't have to do that. I know the son goes, shut up, Wiener. I'm Boney. Leave me alone. I know you leave me alone. All right. See you tomorrow, Boney. Get out of here. Okay.
Every once in a blue moon, I always check the Weinerville channel. I'm like, anything new yet? Anything new yet? Don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Well, my son Max kind of like keeps updating it. So he just came out with a new album, Mind of Max. If your viewers can look at it, it's really beautiful music.
Well, again, Mark, thank you so very much.
Okay, just remember.
Yes, as soon as I can, I'm getting my hands on one of those.
Eric, you want one?
Well, guys, thank you so very much for checking out this video. This was awesome. I'm still giddy with just being able to talk to Mark and just hear all these background stories. If you guys love this video and you want to see more of this stuff, please subscribe, get those notifications going, and like the video. As well as, too, please check me out on Twitter and MySpace. Until then, guys, have fun, take care, and 143.
Did you really say MySpace?
I have a MySpace, yes.
Wait, seriously?
Yes, dear God, yes, I have a MySpace because...
MySpace is so 90s. Get with the times. It's called Facebook.
But here's the thing, have you looked at MySpace?
Not in the last 10 years.
I mean, granted, you can't customize it anymore.
Actually, mental note, stop hanging out with dweebs.
But you can use it as a profile, actually using it as a profile for the videos.